is working.
Here's the thing. If you're hanging with the wrong people, it is keeping you trapped. You're stuck. Today, I want to talk about how you can get around the right people so that you can get better, break free, and become the best version of yourself. So I want to share a quick little story I wrote the other day on the blog, and it's called How Working Dumber, Not Smarter is the Key to Exponential Growth. So I was scrolling through IG and I saw a funny post. Had a picture of a donkey, and it said, "If hard work pays, show me a rich mule." Now, have you ever seen a rich mule? I haven't. Mules are used and abused, but they are certainly not rich. They're worked hard, but they don't get any profits. So it's common out there in the world of gurus to tell you that working smarter, not harder, is the key to success. And I tried it. I tried it for my first 15 years in business. I tried being the smart worker, and I always ended up working harder and making less money. And it wasn't until I met my man, Mark Evans, and he taught me the truth. He taught me the truth that unlocked the growth that I had been looking for the last 15 years. Here's what he taught me. When you're the smart one and you have all the answers, your team is not going to think for themselves. See, that's why working smarter is a trap. It makes your entire business dependent on you. Now, if you want to unlock exponential growth in your business, the key is to work dumb and hire smart. And today's, I'm recording this and I will turn this into an article and a newsletter later on. Today's presentation comes to us because of the smart people we have on our team. I was talking to our head writer, our copy chief, Finn, and he mentioned that it would really be beneficial to have some sort of culture doc, something that let new people who thought they wanted to work at the Podcast Factory know what we were all about before they joined. And this is extremely smart. This is extremely astute, because one of the things that we've learned in all the years of hiring and firing is the best way to hire is to hire people who have similar values, who believe in what you believe. Hiring people for attitude versus aptitude. So their abilities can be cultivated, but their attitude cannot be cultivated. And that got me to thinking about what our culture is at the Podcast Factory. What are the values that we hold dear? What are the non-negotiables that we have here in this company as our guiding principles? And so today we're going to talk about why hanging with the wrong people is costing you, how that's keeping you in the same spot, and how you might feel trapped if you're in this crazy cycle, and how to break free of it, how you can unlock unlimited growth, how you can get around the right people, and how you can get free. And I think those are the core tenets here at the Podcast Factory. It is impact, improvement, and freedom. So let's jump in. Like I said earlier, you gotta work dumb and hire smart. And we have been blessed with a wonderful, wonderful team at the Podcast Factory. And when my man Finn recommended that we get a culture doc going, my first instinct was, let's talk to the team. Let's see what they think. Let's figure out what attracted them to work with us and what keeps them here week in, week out, delivering high-level copy for us and for our clients. And one of my favorite things that came from that discussion with the writing team was being a part of conversations that matter. When one of our writers said that to me, it really hit home, because that's how the Podcast Factory started, was recording conversations that matter with people who had helped me break through and hit new levels, and sharing those conversations with our listeners so they could have the same breakthroughs that I had. And it's sort of that idea of paying it forward. Yeah, you do better in life, you reach another level, and you look and see who you can help step up to the next level. Like my man Mark Evans says, I like to give people a hand up, not a hand out. And that was really the starting concept, the starting idea, the nucleus of what became the Podcast Factory, was having these conversations that matter and sharing them with more people so that we could make an impact in their lives. And so a lot of folks out there, and myself included when I started, I didn't have anybody I could talk to about business. I didn't really have anybody that was doing what I wanted to do, because I wanted to create this location independent business where I wasn't tied to an office. I wasn't tied to a building. I wasn't tied to anything but the internet to be able to create a living. And I didn't know anybody like that. That was crazy talk, especially for me being a D student in high school, barely graduating, and having parents who taught me that I should get a trade. I was a blue collar worker. And so, yeah, my environment did not have anybody in it that could teach me the ways of living free. And I had to figure out where I could meet these people. And I did it through books. I did it through podcasts eventually. And then I started creating my own podcast with my mentors to pay it forward so that other people could hear these conversations that matter and get uplifted. And so there's no excuse. If you don't have the right people in your network right now, go get them in the library. Go get them on podcast. Go get them. Maybe they're on YouTube. There are ways to connect with these people. And this was the first level and the first idea of what the Podcast Factory was all about. It was these conversations that matter, making them available to more people so that we can make a greater impact on their lives by helping change their minds, change their perspective, give them a different point of view that they might not have access to otherwise. Here's something sad. Most people finish school and they think that they are done learning. School's done. I took all the tests. I did all the work. I passed, and now I'm done learning. I'm ready for life. Newsflash, school does not prepare you for life. What I think school does a good job of is showing you how to learn. If you're in the right kind of school, if you're with the right kind of teachers, showing you how to learn. And that is only the beginning of our journey. If you are not growing, who said this? If you're not growing, you're dying. I think maybe it was, I don't know. I'm not even going to take a guess because I'm drawing a blank. But our job as humans is to consistently get better, consistently grow, consistently evolve, because that's what's required in order to make it in the world. When you look at science and nature, evolution has been happening for years. Animals have been adapting. Species have been adapting, getting better. And if they don't get better, they go extinct. Now, have you ever heard the quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world"? A lot of people think Gandhi said this, Mahatma Gandhi, and it's credited to him often. Fact is, he didn't actually say that. I was doing some research when I was preparing for this presentation, and what he actually said was, "We but mirror the world." We mirror the world. And the reason this is important is because whatever the world is around us, we become a reflection of that. And so most of us that are hanging out with the wrong people are going to mirror that behavior. We are going to be doing what they do, whether it's complaining, whether it's not amounting to much, whether it's good or bad, we're going to mirror the world around us. And if we want to grow, if we want to get better, if we want to do more, have more, be more, and give more, we have to make sure that we're getting around the right people. So that was why we talked about elevating the people you hang around with in the last section, whether it's books, whether it's podcasts, whether it's courses. You don't have to mirror just the people right around you. You can find other people to mirror and become a reflection of them. And so that quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world," it came from, was sourced and changed from what Gandhi said, where we but mirror the world around us. But the thing is, if we can get around the right people, if we can learn new perspectives, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing, new ways of being, then we can evolve, grow, and get better. So one of the things that I want to remind you guys of, and it's one of the core principles here at the Podcast Factory, is living a life of constant improvement, constant evolution, constant growth. And the formula for this is extremely simple, but it's not easy. Listen, learn, and imitate. And this is one of the reasons, like I said, we started the Podcast Factory. I started recording conversations with my mentors was so that other people could listen to what we were talking about, these conversations that matter. They could learn new concepts that they might not have known about before, and then they could imitate and grow. They could be a reflection of what they just learned and improve their lives, because we are about improvement here. Living a life of constant improvement is one of the core philosophies here at the Podcast Factory. And there's no excuse. You don't have the right people in your world. You don't have the right connections. You don't know who to follow. Those excuses are all blown away here at the Podcast Factory, because we vet the people that we put on the airwaves. We connect with these people. We do business with these people, and we know that they are the real deal. And so we help them push the message of constant improvement. What do you think of when I say freedom? For me, freedom is simple. Do what you want, when you want, with who you want. That to me is freedom, and it's simple in concept, and sometimes it isn't easy to apply into the real world because we have real world responsibilities. But when you can do what you want, when you want, with who you want, in my opinion, you are free. Now, everywhere I look online, on the news, on the Facebook feed, everywhere there's this surplus of bad news. Bad, divisiveness, fighting, terror. And the reason they do that is because that gets attention, that gets eyeballs, that gets people glued to their feeds or glued to their screen. And for me, I think this is a sad thing, and that's why I don't have a Facebook news feed. That's why I don't watch the news, and that's why I do make sure that the people we have here on the Podcast Factory are bringing good news, are bringing positivity, are giving the listeners options for a better life. See, because one of the things I figured out by getting around the right people is life is in our control. When we have the right inputs, we get better outputs. And hello, the right inputs are the podcasts here at the Podcast Factory and the hosts that we have vetted to make sure that these are good people with similar values who want the best for their listeners. So if you're feeling trapped in this world, you have a choice. You can control what inputs you have going into your brain, into your eyes, into your ears to help you get better outputs into the world, a better outcome, more freedom. And that's one of the big things here at the Podcast Factory. When we spoke to the team, they were all about freedom. And we don't do the punch a clock thing. We don't trade dollars for hours. We're all about solving problems and being rewarded. And this is a way of thinking that is not taught in the mainstream. It's not taught in school. It's not taught anywhere that I know of. And that's one of the reasons why I had to make sure that we had a place, me, our hosts, our team, to promote the good news that freedom can be yours. Freedom is within your reach. Freedom is in your control. If you put the right things in, you'll get the right things out. So, when I'm thinking about what the culture is and what our core values are at the Podcast Factory, the three things that come to mind are impact, being a part of conversations that matter, because I have experienced this myself. I remember when I was talking to my friend Darren, and he told me, "Hey dude, your real estate business is a mess. Why don't you use some of those internet marketing skills and turn them on your real estate business?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Email marketing, copywriting, funnels, opt-ins." I did all that. I turned it into my real estate business, and it's like 8 or 9 years later, a lot of that, which I built at that time, is still running, has brought in millions of dollars in rental income. And it was from being a part of a conversation that mattered. And that was the nucleus, that idea of impact that launched the concept of the Podcast Factory, because being part of those conversations, listening to those conversations, getting ideas, getting around the right people could make a huge difference in someone's life. The next core belief at the Podcast Factory is a constant life of improvement, getting better every day. Now, Gandhi said, "We but mirror the world." We are a reflection of the world we are in. So how do we get better? How do we improve? We have to upgrade our world. We have to get around better ideas. We have to get around better people. We have to get around better thinking. to up-level ourselves so we can be a reflection of something much more beautiful. And the last core belief is freedom. Do what you want, when you want, with who you want. Get out there and solve problems. Don't punch a clock. Solve problems. Get rewarded. Not everybody's going to tell you that, but here at the Podcast Factory, we are about solving problems. And that's what we're doing every day when we put out podcasts for our hosts. I believe that we are solving the world's problems by giving our listeners a new perspective. So they know that, okay, maybe everybody else says that you have to do life this way, but in fact, there might be a better way. There might be something better that you haven't heard about until you got here. Solve problems and get rewarded. So I thought I'd record this audio, and I'd like to turn this into an article as well, so that when folks are wondering, what is the Podcast Factory about? Why would I want to be a part of it? And this is not, what's funny here is some people, when you ask them, hey, what are your core values? And I do this all the time on Results Leader Podcast. When I'm doing a pre-interview, I ask our potential guests, what are your core values? And they say, business or personal? And I think, is there a separation? Core values are core values. And so what I'm sharing with you here is not just for the Podcast Factory. It's what we live by every day. Hanging around the right people so that you can make a greater impact. Getting better every day so you can be the best version of yourself, so you can elevate. And breaking free of what everybody else is saying, what the media is saying, what school's saying, what the church is saying. Whoever is telling you you can't have it all, they just don't know. And that's what we're here for. Impact, improvement, and freedom. That's what I've got for you guys today.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.